Today's lesson is expressing and receiving appreciation. Hi everyone, I'm Mike.
And I'm Candice.
And we're back with our Plus Talk dialogues for this month. We're in the second half, so we've already done 2 dialogues about expressing and receiving appreciation. When you appreciate what someone's done, when you want to be thankful to them, when you want to show some respect and kind of follow up afterwards and say, hey, you know that thing you did for me? Well, thanks. That was really great. It worked out wonderfully. I just wanted to give you an extra, slightly delayed thank you. In our first 2 dialogues, it was a bit more formal. We had a student thanking a professor for a letter of recommendation the professor had written. The student already got the letter maybe a few days ago, but said, no, it was really great. I read the letter. You said such nice things. Hopefully it will get me that big job or whatever. I just wanted to thank you. And the professor was like, hey, no problem. It's what I do. But I think the student really performed well or really made herself stand out in a positive way by following up and going back to the professor after she had already received the letter. And then the second dialogue was business.
That's right. We have to learn how to express and receive appreciation in different contexts. So, of course, the context you mentioned was the educational context with an instructor or a mentor. The business context, of course, there are different situations even within the business context. And then, of course, you also have personal situations where you have to express and receive gratitude. And of course, I think a lot of people don't always verbally express their feelings, but I think it's still important to make that extra effort, even though it's uncomfortable sometimes. And I think that's why people use language, self-effacing language, because it is a little bit awkward sometimes to receive that appreciation. We need to learn to receive thanks graciously. Like a compliment, we have to receive it graciously and also give it graciously.
Absolutely right. Yeah, because if someone does go out of their way to thank you, it's nice to know how to receive that thanks so that the other person doesn't feel like they're bothering you by saying thanks or you don't want their thanks or something like that, because it's just one of those sort of social skills we all need to learn to keep things between people moving smoothly, and actually keeping things between people in your personal life, keeping those relationships moving smoothly. That's kind of what we're focusing on more today. We're going to be looking at a couple of situations, one with a coworker and then also at home with a roommate. So this is going to be really interesting. Let's check out our first dialogue right now.
3. To a coworker. Sarah approaches Abby, who is sitting in the break room where they both work. Hey, Abby, could you do me a big favor?
Sure, I'll help if I can. What's up?
I'm supposed to work the afternoon shift today too, but my friend Scarlett is flying into town and needs someone to pick her up at the airport. I would have asked for the afternoon off, but I just found out this morning.
So you want me to cover your shift? Sure, I could use the extra hours.
Great, thanks so much. And I'll be happy to cover a shift for you sometime if you need me to.
All right, I may hold you to that. Anyway, drive safe and I'll see you tomorrow.
大家好，第一部分我们看到名词 coworker 指同事。例如 One of my coworkers was out sick, so I had to do extra work today. 我的一位同事生病了，所以我今天不得不加班。或是 I joined my coworkers for lunch at a nearby cafe. 我和我的同事在附近的一家咖啡馆共进午餐。另外补充这个字的同义词 colleague, C-O-L-L-E-A-G-U-E, colleague. 举例来说 Our new colleague Luke is from Germany. 我们的新同事 Luke 来自德国。也可以说 Terry is meeting some colleagues from New York this Friday. Terry 本周五将与一些来自纽约的同事会面。接着我们看到单字 shift. 这个字是名词，指轮班或是轮班时间。像是 Tom used to work 12-hour shifts at a Japanese restaurant. Tom 以前在一家日本料理餐厅上12个小时的班。或是 I have to go on the early shift next week, but I'll still be able to walk the dog before work. 我下星期必须上早班，但我上班前还是可以去遛狗。另外，这个字也可以当动词，有转移、改变的意思。例如 Please shift your attention to the following page. 请把你的注意力转移到下一页。或者 Martha shifted to a vegan diet this year. Martha 今年改变成全素的饮食习惯。
Okay, we are back. So, yes, in part 1 today, or part 3, number 3 of our dialogues, we are expressing and receiving appreciation to or from a coworker. All right, and a coworker is a worker, a person you work with, someone at your job, not someone just in the sort of same occupation as you who might work at a different place. This is someone who actually works in the same location at the same site, someone you work alongside with every single day. And you want to keep your relationships with your coworkers going as smoothly as possible, right? Because you don't want stress and tension between you and a person you see for 40 hours a week or something like that. It would just make everyone's life a little bit harder. And in this situation, Sarah, it says, approaches Abby, who is sitting in the break room where they both work. Okay, so if it's a break room, I imagine it might be in a store, in a factory, something like this. This is the place where all the workers gather around noon, probably to have their lunch break and things like that.
Yeah, and so Sarah says, hey, Abby, could you do me a big favor? So that's usually the opening line to asking someone to do something that isn't necessarily their responsibility. When you do someone a favor, it implies that something outside of your usual duties or outside of your usual responsibilities. And also it implies that if you do this for me, I will be doing something for you later. There is usually the understanding that you're going to do something for that person in return.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to make it sound not so bad, you might say a big favor when it's really actually not a big favor, right? Because if someone says, can you do me a big favor? Can I live with you for free? You might say, whoa, that's too big a favor. But if it's, can I borrow your sunglasses for tomorrow afternoon or something? Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. But if you phrase it as a big favor, they might be ready for something really big. But then when you actually say it, oh, can I borrow 100 NT for lunch? They might, oh, that's nothing. Sure. So that might be a little strategy that Sarah's using here. What do you mean? If I'm Abby, I'm thinking, what do you want? But Abby is not saying that, even if she might be thinking it. She says, sure, I'll help if I can. What's up? I think it turns out it's not a huge favor.
Yeah, it's not that big. The favor that Sarah is asking is, she says, I'm supposed to work the afternoon shift today too, but my friend Scarlett is flying into town and needs someone to pick her up at the airport. So really, all that Sarah wants to do is to ask Abby if she's able to take over her work for that afternoon.
Yeah.
A shift is usually the period of time that you work for. So I can have a morning shift. The morning shift might be from 9 to 12, and then I could have an afternoon shift, and that afternoon shift might go from after lunch until 5 o'clock, so 1 to 5 p.m. So I think what Sarah wants is just to ask Abby to work a few hours in her stead because something unexpected has come up. And the unexpected thing that has come up is that Sarah's friend is arriving in town and Sarah has to go and pick her up. Sarah goes on to explain why she needs the favor. I would have asked for the afternoon off, but I just found out this morning. So it's not because of bad planning. It's just because a situation came up that she wasn't fully prepared for. And so she's had to rearrange her day at short notice.
Interesting. I guess the big part of this favor is it's today. It's not like, oh, next Friday, can you work for me? It's actually today. So obviously, yeah, Abby's already tired from working in the morning. Suddenly being asked right now to keep working, that might be a little inconvenient, but not a huge favor, right? She's not asking her to donate a kidney or something like that. So Abby, she kind of responds by asking a question, but this question is just to clarify exactly what Sarah is asking her for. She just wants to be like, do I fully understand what you're asking? So she returns it in a question form. So you want me to cover your shift? And she would be raising her voice there, as a way way of saying this is a question. Do I have this right? Is this correct? So you want me to cover your shift? Sure, I could use the extra hours, she says. Okay, so there you go. Cover your shift. If you cover for somebody or cover something for somebody, that means basically you're doing it because they can't. And probably you're doing it as a favor or something like that. You're doing it in an unexpected situation. You're sort of protecting them. You're covering them. You're making sure that no trouble happens because of what they've done or what they've decided or what's changed. So cover your shift, work for you, fill in those hours. She says, sure, I could use the extra hours. Oh, that's nice. So she's kind of saying, yeah, I will do it. That's the sure. And then she's kind of giving this extra information so that Sarah feels like this is kind of helping me in some way. This is why I'm really not unhappy. This is why this is not a problem. I could use the extra hours. In other words, I could use the extra work. I could use the extra money. She could say, sure, I could use the extra money, but she just says I could use the extra hours instead. In other words, no problem at all.
And I guess in this economy, lots of people are quite happy to get extra hours in certain jobs because they're quite strapped for cash. So if you can get extra hours, that means that you can boost your income a little bit. You can get a little bit of extra cash. So, and that is the case for Abby. She's happy to cover the shift, as Mike said. And Sarah's really grateful. She says, great, thanks so much. And I'll be happy to cover a shift for you sometime if you need me to. So there, Sarah's offering to return the favor. She's really grateful for Abby's help. Of course, then she's expressing her willingness to cover a shift in return if Abby should ever need it.
There you go. And Abby is very happy about all this. She says, all right, I may hold you to that. In other words, if you promise to cover my shift in the future, then I may remember that promise. I may hold you to that promise. That's what she's holding her to. Yeah, so if someone says they'll do something for you, they make a promise, they make some kind of guarantee, and you kind of want to say, I'll remember that. Don't forget that you made that guarantee. I will hold you to that. In other words, I might follow up and expect that from you sometime in the future. So I hope those aren't just sort of meaningless words you're saying, because I'm trusting you and I might actually call for that favor in the future. Anyway, drive safe, Abby says, and I'll see you tomorrow. Sounds like a very nice interaction between these two considerate and helpful coworkers. All right, guys, we're going to look at the fourth dialogue we have coming up right now.
4. From a roommate. Max is sitting on a couch reading when his roommate Dan comes home.
Hey Dan, welcome back. How was the big trip? It was really fun, thanks. And thanks for taking care of Buster and picking up those packages for me while I was away. Oh, no problem. Buster's a good dog, and the packages were a piece of cake. Well, speaking of cake, I got you these pineapple cakes from Taichung to say thanks. Awesome! I've only tried pineapple cakes once before, but I remember they're delicious. Yeah, these are super tasty. Sounds good. Want to have some now? You read my mind.
第二部分我们看到形容词 awesome， 表示非常棒的或是令人惊叹的。举例来说 My hotel room has an awesome view of the ocean. 我饭店的房间有超棒的海景。或者 The speech that Allegra delivered was awesome in so many ways. Allegra 发表的演说就很多层面而言都很优异。最后我们看到单字 tasty， 这个字是形容词，指美味的或是可口的。例如 If you want a tasty treat, have some of these cookies. 如果你想吃点美味的小点心，就吃吃看这些饼干吧。或是 Meredith cooked us a tasty meal. Meredith 为我们做了一顿美味的饭。另外补充这个字的动词 taste， T-A-S-T-E, taste， 表示尝起来点点点或是品尝的意思。像是 Please taste the food and tell me if you like it. 请尝尝得到食物，然后告诉我你喜不喜欢。
All right, so dialogue number 4. Now it really comes home because we're at home. We're expressing and receiving appreciation at home from a roommate, from someone you live with. And we have 2 guys. Max is sitting on a couch reading when his roommate Dan comes in. Someone is going to be expressing appreciation for something.
And so Max says, "Hey, Dan, welcome back. How was your big trip?" So, of course, Dan has been somewhere and he's just returned from a trip. So Dan responds, "It was really fun, thanks. And thanks for taking care of Buster and picking up those packages for me while I was away." So obviously Dan had gone somewhere on vacation, and Max is now curious to know how that vacation went, because while Dan was on vacation, Max was at home taking care of Buster. I'm guessing Buster's a dog. And another thing that Max had done for Dan while he was away was pick up some packages for him while he was on vacation.
Oh, okay. So he got some packages in the mail, not letters, but boxes, maybe from Amazon or something like that. And instead of just leaving them down by the front door or sitting at the post office, Max was also handling that for Dan. So not only walking Buster and making sure he's a happy little dog, but also taking care of his mail and, some other little errands because Dan was away. So Max says, "Oh, no problem." Max is like, "Hey, yeah, no problem, Dan. You were away. Buster's your dog. You had some mail. I handled it. No problem. No big deal." And then he kind of explains how it all went and also why it's no problem. Buster's a good dog, so he's very easy to take care of. He doesn't bite. He doesn't growl. He likes everyone. He's a good dog. He's pleasant to be around. And the packages were a piece of cake. Now, it doesn't mean that the cake was in the packages, because that would actually be kind of a messy package to pick up. It means that it was easy, a piece of cake, and for some reason in English we also say it was as easy as pie. Both cake and pie in English are easy. So if picking up the packages was a piece of cake, picking up the packages was easy as pie, it was no problem. It was very simple, very, very easy. All I had to do was get the packages and bring them inside and put them on the table, and that's where they are. It was a piece of cake.
That's right. And of course, then he says, "Well, speaking of cake, I got you these pineapple cakes from Taichung to say thanks." And he pulls out a box from his backpack and hands it to Max. So Dan literally got some pineapple cakes from Taichung. So obviously he'd gone on vacation to Taichung, and the traditional gift from Taichung is to bring some pineapple cakes.
Okay.
Very often we will express our thanks by giving someone a small gift or a souvenir. And sometimes those souvenirs might be a snack from the place that we visited, or it might be a small emblem or magnet or representation or picture of the place that we've been to. But in this case, Dan got the traditional pineapple cakes from Taichung.
There you go. So it's talking of cake or speaking of cake. This is just a link between two topics that are similar, but maybe not a big relationship there, right? Using a piece of cake to try to transition to the fact that I brought you some cakes. And Max is very happy because anyone who gets pineapple cakes from Taichung should be very happy. They are delicious. So Max says, awesome, fantastic, wonderful. Awesome is one of those words that's a little bit different from its true meaning. Something awesome is something that makes you go, wow, in an almost unbelievable way, but we do use it in a more modern way of just saying, fantastic, great, how was the movie? It was awesome. It doesn't mean you fell down and couldn't speak because you were so blown away by the power of the movie. It just means it was good. So in other words, I like cakes. Cakes make me happy. They're delicious. I say awesome, fantastic, wonderful, great. I've only tried pineapple cakes once before, but I remember they're delicious. So there you go. He's kind of expressing his appreciation and, you know, just giving a little personal statement, a little personal opinion of, oh, I really like these cakes. I had some before, but it's been a long time, you know, just showing the person, here's a real reason why I'm actually really happy I got these cakes. I'm not just saying thank you. There's a reason I'm so thankful.
Yeah, so we often use words like awesome. They're all expressions of pleasure. Awesome, amazing, wonderful, excellent, fantastic, as you said. What are some others? Marvelous, fabulous. Yes. Yes, so we use these words to express our pleasure, depending on the tone of our voice, of course. It could be expressing pleasure or it could be expressing dismay. So he said, awesome. So that means that he was happy about it. If he had said, awesome. I don't think you would be so enthusiastic about pineapple cakes, right? But his tone of voice does express that he's happy about this gift. And he's happy because these are super tasty. Now, tasty is just another word for delicious or flavorful. They taste good. So if something tastes good, it is tasty. That's the adjective for taste. And of course, Max is ready to get into some pineapple cakes, isn't he?
That's absolutely right. He says, sounds good. Oh, they're tasty. They're delicious. Sounds good. I'm happy to hear that. That's good news. And then he kind of says, want to have some now? Should we open them and have one now? Because, you know, a box of cakes is useless unless you're actually eating them. So do you want to eat them now?
Yeah, you read my mind.
There you go. You read my mind. Absolutely. I definitely want to do that. I'm thinking exactly the same thing as you. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. We really appreciate all the time that you're spending with us, especially over these last 2 days. Thanks for doing that, and we hope to see more of you in the future. But for now, it's time to go over to our Chinese teacher, who we also really appreciate.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。第一部分的对话一开始， Sarah 走向 Abby 问她说， Could you do me a big favor? 你可以帮我一个大忙吗？好，那这边的 favor 是当名词，是指帮助或者是恩惠。当我们说 do somebody a favor 或者是 do a favor for somebody 都可以用来表达帮某人一个忙，其实就跟 give somebody a hand 意思差不多。所以我们要请求别人协助的时候，你可以说 Can you give me a hand? Could you give me a hand? 或者是 Can I ask you a favor? 或是 Could I ask you a favor? 等等都是用来请求协助。好，那至于如果是 owe somebody a favor 则是表达欠某人一次人情，那 return the favor 则是还人情。好，那还有一个有趣的用法叫做 curry favor。 curry 是拼作 C-U-R-R-Y， 也就是我们那个吃的那个咖喱，同一个字，可是在这边跟咖喱没有关系。 curry favor 是指拍马屁讨好，那尤其它是指说对当权者的那种讨好奉承拍马屁，我们就可以用 curry favor with somebody 去表达巴结某个人，讨好某个人。好，那这边顺便补充一下 favor 的其他用法。favor 当名词呢，它除了指帮忙，它其实还有支持啊、赞同、偏爱的意思。当我们用 in favor of 加名词或动名词，就可以表达支持、赞成某事物，也可以用来表达说宁愿选择什么什么，或者是想要什么什么而不要什么什么的那种语义。好，举例来说 He turned down the job offer in favor of returning to his hometown. 他谢绝了那个工作机会而选择返回家乡，所以他没有选那个工作机会，而是选择返回家乡。我们用 in favor of returning to his hometown 来表明他的选择。好，那我们再补充一个用语 fall out of favor 则是表达不再受到喜爱、失宠的那种意思，像是 The chat app has fallen out of favor， 那个聊天应用程式它已经失宠了，已经不受欢迎了。好，那么在第二部分的对话里面 Dan 他买了凤梨酥要向室友 Max 道谢。 Max 说他以前只吃过一次凤梨酥，但他记得很好吃，那他就提议说现在来吃一些吧。 Dan 回答 You read my mind， 你真懂我。好，那我们来看一下 read one's mind 字面意思是读某人的心，也就是知道某人在想什么咯。好，那如果是 mind reader 则是表达看穿他人心思的人。像有时候我们可能吵架沟通不良，那吵架的时候可能会说 How am I supposed to know what you're thinking? I'm not a mind reader。 我怎么会知道你在想什么？我又不会读心术。所以呢，最好还是就坦诚的告诉对方自己在想什么，才不用猜来猜去，对不对？好，那我们顺便补充一下，如果是 speak one's mind 则表示有话直说，坦白说出心里想法。像我们可以讲 Don't be afraid to speak your mind， 别害怕说出你心里的想法，就有话直说吧。以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Coworker. Wally likes his job because he has fun working with his coworkers. Shift. You can only change your shift with permission from the manager. Awesome. The band's new singer is so awesome that we went to see them twice. Tasty. The cookie looked delicious, but it wasn't actually very tasty.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I'm Candice.
See you next time.